Hello and welcome to I Wish I Were a Prosciutto. My name is Martin Blanco, and I confess that I really don't wish I were a prosciutto. But when you learn how prosciutto is made, you might just want to. And that's because from farm to table, Italian and Italian-American food are made with craftsmanship, passion, and love. My life has been shaped by these traditions, and now I'd like to take a closer look at a favorite dish or tradition, share memories closely tied to the Italian table, and discover places where these traditions continue.
And I'm Sandra Radosh, and I confess that I'm not Italian, but I love good food and drink, and I'm curious about these culinary traditions Martin is always blathering about. Join us as we experience good food, enjoy good conversation, and stuff our faces.
And maybe by the end of the show, you'll understand why sometimes I wish I were a prosciutto. Good morning.
Good morning, Lydia.
Thanks for joining us.
We're so honored to have you.
Buongiorno.
Buongiorno.
Buongiorno. So much to talk about, but right out of the gate, let's get to it. You have a new television show coming to PBS soon. Please tell us about Lidia Celebrates America, Changemakers.
I have a regular cooking show, 26 years, but also the last 12 years, I've done a special once a year for the holidays, and it's a 1-hour special, and it's my way of thanking America. Being an immigrant, and I was given many opportunities here, and so sometimes I think that maybe as an immigrant, I understand almost America better than. And there's so much to be thankful for, but not all the time I hear that in things that are happening. So I said, okay, I'm going to go out there. I'm going to meet these great American people and, show what is being done. There's a lot being done. And of course, I do it through food. So Changemakers is about 5 young professionals, somehow related to food, and how they see the future in many different ways. Whether it is, I go to Minneapolis, and Sean is an Indigenous Indian chef, and he has a restaurant, and he is determined to sort of almost go back, tell his people it is fine. We should go back and eat the way we did. We should grow our own products like we did. And so he encourages. Because he said that a lot of the health issues that are in reservations are precisely that. That the people are eating food that's not, this processed, that's this, that's that. And so he has a restaurant, and he opens his restaurant to different chefs, to people, and he cooks with all the indigenous ingredients. He encourages and buys the ingredients from the natives, and he hopes to send this message throughout America, the indigenous food of the people that were the first people in America. And then again, around Minneapolis, there's a husband and wife team, the Cricketeers, they call them.
The Cricketeers.
Jiminy Cricket.
And what they've done is, again, we are looking forward, are we going to have enough food to feed everybody this new explosion of population that's happening? And insects have been discussed, actually, insects in my travels, China, Mexico, South America. You go to the market and there's mounds of dehydrated, dried insects that they use, whether it's, grasshoppers or ants or whatever. And so cultures have been using insects, just as Americans, I think that we are kind of squeamish about it. Anyway. It was interesting because I went there. I was curious. I said, okay, what is your plan? The husband is an environmentalist, a lawyer, an attorney, an environmental attorney. So there's a consciousness there about our environment and how are we safeguarding, if you will, or what will the future bring. And so they had this mounds of dried grasshopper, but they also had, they sort of milled it and made it into a flour. And then they made pasta. So, okay, they said, Lydia, here we have the pasta. give us some recipes. And so it was curious to taste that pasta.
Sure.
And we cooked. I made some pesto, some quick pesto, and I put in the pesto too. You put basil and parsley and garlic. I put some crickets, dried crickets instead of the pine nuts.
Instead of pinoli, sure, yeah.
And it was delicious. The pine was good and all that.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a future there too. And then, of course, down in LA, there's this wonderful woman, and the organization is called, oh my goodness, it just slips me. But anyway, it's an organization where, we as Americans, we waste 40% of the food that we produce or buy or whatever. And, that's
Tragic.
yeah, it's thin, and then there's hungry people in the United States and all over. And so what she did, she with a lot of volunteers, she grouped these volunteers. She went to the farmers because right there outside of Los Angeles, is further into the valley. That's the sort of garden, the American garden, where all our vegetables come from.
Yes.
And she goes to these packing plants, to these big farms, and picks up all the, let's say like a cabbage, it has the outside leaves, 2-3 leaves kind of bruised, and it's not good for the market. But she says, take off these leaves and we give it away to people in the neighborhood. Because, the people that work these farms live around the farms, but the neighborhoods where they live, they don't have an option to buy. There's no Whole Foods there.
Right.
It's all this fast food and whatever. And so she brings that back into their community and free of charge. Puts it out once or twice a week, and people come and line up with their little bags and they collect whatever that vegetable was. The day I was there was a cabbage, there was zucchini, there was watermelon, and these people. And what really struck me is that these people that really kind of need this good food and all that, they're very conscious about how much they took. You can see that they took enough what they felt was good. Leave some for others. And what we did, I said, gee, I looked at the ingredients and I said, let me make a recipe. Let me take one of my recipes and transform it with the ingredients that were there. So we made a recipe. We took one of my recipes. I inserted, it was a pasta recipe. That's the easiest.
Right.
And we did it Spanish on one side and English on the other. And we put it in the bags of these people, and they were so happy. And you know what? These people watch my show. They recognize me. I was thrilled. You see, they have an interest. They would like to, I guess, eat well, but they need the ingredients. And so this young woman organizes, and she takes in, any volunteers that want to work. They deliver also to different schools, institutions and so, she is very effective. So it's happening in these, what I notice is that these change makers, do as much as they can. They take care of their own kind of radius, whatever they can. And, it's an example that how everybody out there can do something. It doesn't have to be a whole state. It doesn't have to be, it could be just the 10 blocks around you that need, or the neighborhood, the next neighborhood next to you that needs it. So they kind of really are great young examples of change makers.
Great inspiration. Great inspiration.
When you think out of the box, it's almost limitless what you can accomplish just by changing your mindset or bringing a different perspective to the problem.
Yeah, I think a lot of people think, oh, I can't do that. I don't have the capabilities. Yeah, everybody has. Look around for an organization or something. Go to the meetings and see how you can insert yourself into that sort of structure.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, even just your next door neighbor. You live in a big building and there's an elderly couple maybe on the second floor or whatever. You begin something like that. I know I have an elderly couple down the block, and we've been sort of connecting with them. When the holidays are, I make extra soup, I bring it, and it's simple. It's we're friends. Everybody can do that.
Yes. I should tell you, little bit of a boast, but when you were talking about the gentleman from Minnesota who was an environmental lawyer, my daughter's in law school now, and it's her intention to be an environmental lawyer, and she's also a good cook and a bit of a foodie. And she can follow like right in these footsteps. So that's where her mindset is taking her in a similar path.
We need this kind of consciousness in there. Yes, we all want to have our immediate family in mind, ourselves, our well-being, being fed. But if we have these gifts, let's extend them, and we can do it easily.
Pay it forward. Absolutely.
It was
Pay
the
it
life
forward.
That was the lifestyle my maternal grandparents created for my mom and her siblings, and for me and my cousins. And it's nice to see that carried forth into our kids now. But it's that mindset of always, yes, we are together. We have this abundance. We have these blessings. It's so easy to extend, and it's joyful. It pays you back. And not that you do it to be paid back, but the nice side note is that when you open your doors and you open your hearts, you are equally rewarded for your generosity with company, companionship, conversation, discovery. It's just wonderful.
And you just make these human contacts. We are all longing so much now with this internet, and everybody's so isolated. We are longing for those contacts. And going back to, let's say, my grandmother, growing up, a little small town. I think it was one main road in a small town, and houses on each side, maybe 20, 30 houses. But if I was hungry and if I was in a neighbor's house down the block, they were eating, they would pull up a chair. They would feed, no questions asked. Like you kind of belonged. That kind of sense of connectivity.
Yes.
So, and food is at the base of all of that.
It is. That is the tissue. That's the connecting tissue. That for sure. And so it sustains us in so many ways. The nutrition, for sure, but also the companionship and conviviality. It's a marvelous aspect of life.
Yeah, it is. I think I always say, I would like to do the next one on negotiating with food diplomacy. I think that all these cups of states or whatever, instead of kind of sit down, have a meal of each other's food, whatever, have a glass of wine, and let's see what comes out of it.
Absolutely.
Maybe some peace deal will come out.
Lydia, yes, this is a Nobel Prize worthy idea, and I look forward to, I think the world looks forward to you developing it. I think it's just what we need right now. Well, listen.
And we'd love to participate in that.
Yes.
Brainstorming with you.
Count us in. We'll be your soldiers for sure.
Okay.
For sure. This is going to be your show is going to be on PBS. When can we put our eyes on this wonderful program? When's it premiering?
November 20. The November 26th or 27th. It depends. And I think 9:00 prime time is usually the. But sometimes they change that as well. So, but otherwise, going to PBS. Their website.
Yes.
Looking for Lidia Celebrates America. Will tell you, and then. Put in whatever the zip code where you are, and it will tell you what station. So another personality, shall we say, is a young woman chef from Appalachia in Virginia. And I remember when I first came to America and learning about America, and I used to see these photos from Appalachia and these poor families standing in front of these dilapidated houses. And I said, "Is this America?" Well, this young woman is out to set. The Appalachia is well and good, and she opened a restaurant, and she wants to show how the people from Appalachia are really fending well for themselves and living well, and she wants to elevate the Appalachian food, which was supposedly really basic, to a restaurant level. That doesn't mean elaborating that food or making it into a mousse or some whipped form.
Yes.
It's just cooking rabbits and chickens and the basic things. And so I thought that was very valiant, because she, as a young chef, went to France, to Italy, all over, collected all these experiences, and now wants to bring it back to our native area.
Wonderful idea. And sometimes, you hit the nail on the head in that sometimes it's nice if you go out and you see a finely plated meal and it's sculpted with turrets, and that's fun. But for good food, all you need are the good ingredients and that skill in prepping them, and that's all you need. And that raises the level just by doing that. So simple.
Right. I think that is part of my being on public television 26 years. That it's, when I cook, it's not about what I can invent. I feel like a conduit of my Italian roots to my new family, America. And I feel very responsible of not altering those messages and those roots, making it the same way, as simple as they make it in Italy, and Italian cooking is simple.
Yes.
And transporting it. And people are relating to them. They say, gee, I can do that now. Of course you don't have to make mousses or whatever. So I am very much of that philosophy, and cooking simple, straightforward, seasonal, traditional products of wherever you're cooking from. It's at the base.
Yes. That's what drew me to your program. 26 years ago, I became a stay-at-home parent, and I started watching cooking shows. And when you came up, it was a door that opened to my childhood in how you prepared things and the phrases that you used, the intonation of your voice. You could have been one of my aunts, so easily. And here it was every week. On PBS. I couldn't wait for the next episode. And it came at the perfect time in my life. But that's what you brought to it, the authenticity, the simplicity, and you make your audience feel like we're right there with you and that we're your niece, your nephew, your grandkid, your brother, whatever. And that's your other gift, your culinary skills, but that sense of
your warmth.
The warmth and the community you create.
But you know what? It sort of was natural because how I started in television is, I started in 1971. I started with restaurants, my husband and I. And then in 81, we moved into the city, New York City. And there I really sort of became, after 10 years of handling restaurants, became the chef. And this woman, everybody came to see. And then Julia Child came one day, and she wanted to know what this young woman chef was doing. But she specifically wanted to learn how to make a risotto. And so she came twice, ate it twice, and then she says, Lidia, will you teach me how to make it? and so there we go. And so we became friends. And then she to be on her show. And my first appearance on public television was on Julia's shows. We did 2 episodes, and that's how I got in. But when they asked me, the producer said, you want to do the show? I said, yeah, I do. I love it. Of course, I'd like to be on PBS where Julia was. But said, I'd like to do it in my home because I felt insecure in the studio. I was not a studio artist or whatever. And so we started filming it in my home. Until this day, I filmed it in my home. And what happens in the home? Mother lived with me. My kids were next door. My grandkids came in. And that we began to capture all of that, the reality, what it was. So it was really real. It still is. My mom has passed. She's no longer with us, but still is. And I think that people, like you just said, relate to that, and they kind of feel like they're part of my home. You saw at the signing out there that, people really connected. And I love that.
So, Lidia, how did you manage? You talk about the restaurant you started in 1971, and you had children, you had a husband, he was working with you at the restaurant. How did you manage all of these hats, managing a home, managing your family who grew up to be very successful, and manage a business? This was at a time of turning for women, of being homemakers, taking the homemaker out and putting them into the business world. How did you manage all that and be so successful at it?
Well, there was no genius to it. It was just the reality.
You just did it. Just do it.
Well, you do it, but you set yourself up. The Italian way, usually families live together, and so we did.
You had a support system. The family.
Yeah, support system. My mother lived downstairs, we lived upstairs, and the kids went up and down. And when I went to work, she put them to bed, And, my success story is not mine alone. It's the whole family's. And I always tell them they were all part. Also, the children, I told them now they're grown, they have children on their own. And I said, I have to thank you because you were willing to share your mother. Did they realize it wasn't just the way it was family? That, I had to work. We had a loan, we had to pay, we had to eat. They wanted their toys or whatever. So
Sure.
I had to work. And they got it. They understood that. And I think, a support system. And also, because I had my daughter, I was already in the business. And that was, sort
Okay.
of a newborn. How do you incorporate that? And
Because it's physical, hard work.
exactly. So, but I stayed home for the 3 months or whatever, and I would go in now an hour or two or whatever, back and forth. But I did go to my the pediatrician. We didn't have psychiatrists at that time.
Yeah.
And he was a very wise man. He said, I think sometimes new parents think that they have to set up a new world for this coming child. And he said, you have to remember that a child comes into your home. Whatever you have is good. It's good enough for them, and they have to sort of fit in there. Yes, you need to give them whatever the needs of children are. And he said, children want happy family,
Yes.
happy parents. Feed them, support them, love them, involve them as much as you can, and then you do your thing. Because if you're not doing your thing, you're not happy. They're not going to be happy.
Amen.
That was for me the mandate. There, go, Lydia. And I always share that when I speak, especially when women speak, they ask that question.
Sure. Thank you.
That
Brilliant.
pediatrician
The
was a
basics.
genius.
He
That
was.
pediatrician was a genius. Had it
Yes.
all figured out. Yeah.
Exactly.
But, people should do that regardless of what their work is or what their industry is or whatever. If they embrace that, they'll be fine as parents, right? Hands down.
Absolutely. Take the kids, involve the kids as much. Every vacation, everything, the kids were always involved with us,
Yes.
when we could. We would take them out. But when, otherwise we did what we had to do, and they stayed home with grandma and grandpa. You know what? I think they're all the better for it because
Absolutely.
I think that in today's world, that generation, grandma and grandpa, is sort of forgotten, left in the background. Everything is about where's my future? What am I doing next? Where can I go? And instead, that support system of grandparents, that unconditional love, that wisdom, and all of that, I think really builds strength in this up and coming new adults.
Agreed.
Absolutely.
Well spoken. Agreed.
We lived, when my kids were born, we were down in D.C., and all our family was in New York and Massachusetts. We ended up moving back to New England just for that. And they said they're not going to want to meet their grandparents at age 16. These are the years. And it was the best thing we did so that we could have that kind of lifestyle the way I grew up. And it was incredibly beneficial for them as well. So very busy, obviously, in all of your endeavors. When you have some downtime, when you're not cooking, if ever that time comes, when you're not with the precious
Are
grandchildren.
you ever not cooking, Lydia?
I want to know, what do you do for fun? Is there music? Is there a go-to composer or style of music you go to? Is there an author you like to read? A movie that you have to see every year? Tell us.
I love music. I love classical music, opera, symphony, but I like contemporary music, So music is one of those stimulus that, so I go to the theaters, but music, and I like art. Art also stimulates me in a sense, going to museums or something, the beautiful colors or whatever. Travel. I love to travel. That I have a bit more time. And you know what I do? And I've been doing it for years. My grandchildren, when they graduated, let's say they started with high school. When they graduate high school, now they're out of college, most of them. I give them an opportunity of travel. That's my gift to them. It's not money, wherever you want to go. And what I do, and I mean whatever, whenever, wherever. And that one person that graduates decides the cousins are all invited. So there's 5
Okay.
cousins. And so we take a lot of trips, the 5 grandkids and myself. Not the parents. I don't want them because
That's
the parents.
fantastic.
So everybody wins. Parents get some time off, and you get the grandkids all to yourself. Marvelous.
And it's that's wonderful. So I love to travel. They're planning now. One just graduated BC, and he's still planning.
Okay.
One is in Georgetown, and so there's 2 trips in the planning.
Oh boy.
I want to see where they want to go. What else? I love sailing. I love the water.
Oh, okay. Look at that.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I love sailing. In the summertime, I go in the Adriatic, the area that I come from. You know, I'm born on the sea, so I had the family that were fishermen. We would have little boats, so I was on the water even as a child. So
Okay.
I did that. And yeah, but there's always something, you know, whatever. What do I do more of? I do more of socializing, you know, friends. I have friends since I was 12, 14 here, immigrants like me. Getting back together with them, it's wonderful because sort of, you know, yes, you sort of have your whole life and you have your achievements and whatever, but going back with those friends takes you to a very simple and neutral place to begin.
Sure.
And I like that. I like that.
Your roots.
I
Your
have to be-
roots. Do your friends ever offer to cook for you, Lidia?
Well, they do cook, but the idea is, you know, I usually
You usually end up cooking for everyone.
or we go out.
You-
You know what they say, Lydia? I found this new Greek place. Oh, Lydia, this. Let's go.
Fun.
Smart. Obviously, you spend a lot of time in D.C. I know your daughter went to Georgetown. I think you said you have a granddaughter who attends
Right.
there as
My
well.
daughter went-
And there's the National Italian American Foundation. I love D.C. too. My daughter goes to Georgetown. She was an undergraduate, now a law student there.
Oh, great. Great.
It is. One of the thrills I get from D.C. is if I can't get to Italy, I feel like I got a taste of Italy when I go to D.C. Do you experience that too?
With the architecture.
Yeah.
The neighborhood feel and the kind of the city is not overwhelming. You know, I think there's a mandate there that the buildings cannot be higher than
Yes.
the White House, whatever. So I like that. You know, when you see these big buildings, and I love New York City by all means, but hovering all over you, you kind of feel really minute. But this you feel humane. And I was just there 2 weeks ago. NIAF, National the Italian American Foundation, just had a big gala, but also we opened a restaurant, Mozza. You know, Mozza is our partnership with Nancy Silverton in LA. And so we opened last week Mozza in DC. So if you go back to DC, it's in Georgetown. It's right on the main street there. I don't know if you remember where Dean and DeLuca used to be.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, we took over that whole building.
Okay. You know
So
something?
go in there.
I remember there was a beautiful mall there, and when my daughter was an infant, we went to this beautiful mall done in the Belle Epic style, and they had the best Santa Claus I'd ever seen. And then I went back, and I couldn't find the mall, and because it's gone. But I'm like, where the mall should be here. But Dean and DeLuca was the last remnant. Now they're gone. But now you're there. Next time I'm down there, I'm going to go to Mozza.
Right. We took the whole building. So that's
great. May I be so bold as to recommend a restaurant to you if you're looking for one in D.C.? I don't know if you've ever been to Airiki or if you know Cristiana Ricci.
I know Airiki some way before. They've been about 20 years or more there.
Yes.
Yeah. So I knew the original chef. Absolutely. But I haven't been there in a while. So you like it?
I like it. And I ended up going because my mother was friendly with Christiane Ricci. And so when we moved to D.C., she could make sure you go there. And we did. I'm like, oh, God, thank you. Yes. This was wonderful.
Oh, so. I have to be back. I haven't been there in a while.
All right. Well, I'm going to go to Mozza and you go to Airiki. But I'm looking forward to my next trip. Well, I was going to ask what project will you work on next, but I think you addressed that. You had some ideas and...
Well, you know, I am finishing. I just kind of my next book, which is all on pasta, and it's going to come out in October. what it's airing now is Lydia's for recipes from our family to yours. That's the latest one, and so I am working on that pasta book, which is exciting, and I am working on this next special if I can. Food diplomacy. Let's see, because
yes,
That's brilliant.
Lidia celebrates once a year, and I really love that because it really takes me around the United States and looking for these wonderful situation in the United States, because certainly we had a rough time with the elections and all of this story, and
Yes.
and the news that goes on gives you a headache. I can't help but
gives you agita.
yeah, I can't help but listening, because you feel you're missing something if you're not, and then you leave with a big headache. So let's get in the kitchen, maybe make a nice plate of pasta and a glass of wine, and sort of I settle down with that.
Yes,
Very good.
that can solve all problems. Yeah, intimate and on a large scale. Good
And do
idea.
you like quiet in the kitchen, Lydia? Or do you listen to music while you're cooking? Or does it
I
depend?
usually don't listen. Kind of a not serious music in a sense, because if it's music that I really like, then I focus in, and then it's. But I usually simple folk songs or popular songs or new Italian songs, and I sing along and things like that. So yeah, music background
In the background, yeah.
not dominant music when I cook.
Excellent.
Thank
Me
you.
too.
Thank
Me
you.
too. Well, we're gonna wrap up, even though I'd love to chat with you for another 2 hours, but I'm gonna be a gentleman and not get greedy. But two quick things. Sandra and I both, I think, really want to thank you for not only appearing on our program, but when we
Yes.
met you at the Ferguson Library, you were kind enough and clever enough to really entreat the entire audience there to make sure you listen to our podcast. And I think you said, and you all better listen to the radio show. And I said it was like a papal bull. All right.
Yes.
It's like, so thank you. Would you tell us, say that one more time for us? Can I hear your voice tell everyone to listen to I Wish I Were a Prosciutto?
Well,
yeah.
I want to thank you for having me on your podcast.
Oh,
And certainly the podcast, I love the name. The podcast to listen to is I Wish I Was a Prosciutto.
Oh my God!
yes.
Thank you. All right,
Yes.
and that leads to our final question. We just have to ask: do you have a favorite style or brand of prosciutto that you like to go to when you have that hankering for prosciutto? When you have the wooly for prosciutto, is it? I don't want to put words in your mouth, but is it Parma, San Daniele, from Aosta?
Well-
What kind of prosciutto do you like, Lydia?
Well, it has to be San Daniele. I like a little bit drier prosciutto.
Okay.
So the San Daniele is mine, but Parma and now some of the Tuscan's prosciutto. The prosciutto is made all over Italy.
Yeah.
We used to make it every year. My grandmother had
Oh,
two
you did. Okay.
Yeah. So actually, in my biography, My American Dream, I have a whole chapter on how, as a child, I recall this kind of, the feast of the pig and making all the sausages and the prosciutto. I have the whole segment in there. So I remember vividly. We used to make prosciutto every year.
Okay. Well, we're going to read
Wow.
that. We're going to read that.
Absolutely.
And maybe
We
even read
need
a
to.
segment on the show, too. All right. But San Daniele rises to the top. But prosciutto, it's
San
like pizza and hugs. It's all good, right? It's all.
Right.
There
Well,
we go.
thank you.
Thank
And-
you.
Thank you, Lydia.
Great holidays.
Yes.
Have a great holidays.
Great holidays, Thanksgiving, La Vigilia, Christmas, great holidays. All the best for your show. I know it's going to be a success, and people are going to love it, and I can't wait for the premiere in a couple of weeks.
Yes, both of us.
All right, Lydia, bottom
Lydia.
of our hearts, be well. And
Thank you.
I Wish I Were a Prosciutto was produced by Scope of Communications and produced and engineered by Beacon Podcasting. I'm Martin Blanco.
And I'm Sandra Radach. Until next time.
Buon appetito tutti.